Hi, and welcome today to Celebrity Customer Experience, episode 33 of Celebrity Customer Experience with me, Jill Raff, where we are going to riff on everything related to employee experience to customer experience, which is why it's called Riffs with me, Jill Raff. So we're going to start by talking about the fact that great customer experience starts from the inside and goes from the inside out, from great employee experience to great customer experience, because I am truly obsessed with the idea and the fact that great employee experience creates outstanding customer experience. And I believe every customer deserves to have absolutely fantastic pampering treatment, just like any other celebrity would receive. And we all know what that looks like. I believe your business, your restaurant can increase revenue while engaging both committed and loyal employees and customers. And again, it does begin from the inside. That's why my process is called the Inside Out Framework, from employee experience to customer experience, because I guarantee you, without a doubt, outstanding employee experience will produce fantastic, stellar customer experience. Why am I so passionate about this? Because my parents and grandparents were early McDonald's franchisors. Their first McDonald's was store number 150, opened in Ocala, Florida, March of 1959, when McDonald's was the gold standard of the restaurant industry. Sadly, today we experience so many brands which have lost the connections to their people, connections created from that engagement from the owners and the management being hands-on and involved, really engaged with their people. So they make sure that they do whatever is needed to take care of both their employees and their customers. Due to my upbringing in the McFamily and really careers across various industries, from fashion to real estate to the restaurant industry, spanning 7 countries, the golden common thread for me was a value that I learned as a child growing up in McDonald's from Ray Kroc, which was QSC&V, quality, service, cleanliness, and value, of course. So naturally, I now teach the ABCs of QSC&V. And with this core foundation and other work that I've done, I inherently understand what extraordinary customer experience means, because it is truly in my DNA. I want to welcome anyone who is watching live, anyone who joins along the way, and please invite you to please comment, to be engaged, to be involved in the conversation. I want to hear your thoughts, feedback, input, ideas, your experience. And if you're watching the replay, thank you for watching the replay. And please, same thing, leave your comments, tag me on it so I can engage with you after the fact, even if it's not here live. So moving on, today our episode is on, excuse me, today our episode is on the responsibility of every person that's involved in creating both stellar employee experience and customer experience. So where does that responsibility lie? It's interesting. I think depending upon your perspective, you might feel that it relies with the employer, with the employee, maybe even partially with the customer. So let me know what you think, and we're going to explore some of those ideas right now. So a traditional employee, let's start with employee experience. A traditional model and setup for the employee experience is that the employee carries all the power, that they are the ones who choose you, the employee. They are the ones who choose and dictate everything for the employee. I think traditionally people feel like that the employer also is the one to decide who to choose, who to hire, and that you have no involvement in that. It's just you put yourself out there and they're in control of if they choose you or not, that it's a one-way proposition, that they lay out all the rules as if they're inflexible and this is the way it is, and you accept it or not, and there's no room for any movement, there's no room for your input. it is what it is. I think that's the traditional model. And a lot of times people feel like, well, once we're hired, that the company continues to dictate to you and they talk to you and less with you. Doesn't this resonate with anyone out there? I think traditionally people feel like, the only time they get a chance to have a word or express any feedback is when employers have a once a year evaluation, perhaps two if they're lucky, right? And that's the only time that they're allowed to give feedback, that there's an option for them to have real conversations, which unfortunately right now often happen very infrequently. Maybe they feel like, as the employer, what they need to do, their objective is what it is, and you're either on board or you're not, and that your feedback and thoughts and ideas maybe really don't matter very much because they don't ask for them. And I would say maybe it's not that they don't matter, maybe they just don't think or have a system set up within their company to actually ask you those questions and to ask for the input. And lastly, I think a lot of companies leave how they expect you as the employee to interact with your customers, and leave that up to the individual employee. And I think that is a very dangerous place to be. They don't take the time to actually educate the employee, not just train them. So educate them on how they should represent the company when they engage with customers. What does the company stand for? What is it that creates that company culture? And not just give them the mechanical skill training of how to perform their job. There's a difference in performing your job and how you live into the culture of that company, so much so that it becomes ingrained in who you are, and every employee exudes this culture. They represent your values to your customers, and that would just come out naturally. So what if instead the employee also chooses and has the power to be an interactive participant in the process throughout employment, from hiring all the way through? So I personally was educated and trained. I would say it falls more into that line of the bucket of education. So I was taught that every time I go to an interview, that interview is as much about me interviewing the company to see if it's a right fit for me, and that I'm not the victim or the passive person that has to sit and say, will they take me? Do I want to work for them? Ask questions during an interview. I always ask questions about that company. What are their values? What do they stand for? What do they expect from me as an employee? Is there room for growth for me as the employee? What are the opportunities? What is the setup of the hierarchy of who reports to who? And how is the team created? How does the team function? All of these questions, all these open-ended questions, which is key. When you ask an open-ended question, that means the answer cannot be yes or no, right? So it's not like, do you believe in having people work together as a team or more individually? So that's open-ended. It kind of gives them two buckets. So I actually would probably reword that a little bit differently. But, how do you do this is an open question, rather than would I be able to do XYZ on my job? And the answer would be yes or no, right? So that's the difference between open-ended questions and yes or no questions that are closed questions. So that doesn't open up for conversation from that question. You want to have it be open to lead you into engaging conversation. You don't want to end the conversation with an answer being yes or no. So that's the difference there. And so I was always educated to go in and do that. And so I want to encourage you, if you're listening and you're looking to be employed with a company, to take the opportunity for you to interview them in the same way they're interviewing you. And you know what? They will respect you for it. They will think, oh my gosh, here's someone who is proactive. Here's someone who's has the possibility and the capabilities and the personality traits of being a leader, taking initiative, going forward. They want to know about us. This isn't just a slam dunk. And that is very inviting and very, very attractive to a business. So, please make sure that you incorporate that in there. So, what if it looked like that instead, right? Um, and yes, it is the responsibility of a company to lay out clear and specific guidelines and expectations for anyone they hire. And the rules, of course, must be respected. And the employee is responsible to go in with their eyes wide open, to understand this is what the company is expecting of me. This is the culture they have. And I have to be able to live into that. And if not, if it doesn't align with who I am and it doesn't feel good with me, then you're never going to be happy there as an employee. And the employer will never be happy with an employee who doesn't jive, who doesn't accept those rules, those guidelines, and that culture. And that's okay. There's no judgment, zero judgment here. It's about finding the right fit for both the employer and for the employee. And so I think the responsibility there really relies on both parties. And I think traditionally, people looking for work often feel like the responsibility always lies on the company. So take that power. It is yours. Take it and own it. And you be the one to be proactive. So speaking about being proactive, once you're hired and you're involved in the job, it is the responsibility, I believe, of the employee to be very proactive, to not wait for instructions. Like once you get not immediately out of the gate, when you're not really familiar with all of the systems and the flow of what's happening. So be humble, take it in, learn what you need to know, and then really jump in and say, you know what? I want to volunteer. I want to help out. I want to be a true team member, and I'm willing to help with whatever, whenever is needed. And that's what a true team player does. But also, it allows you to not just be a true team member, but it allows you to learn. I believe that life is about learning. I tell my kids that I hope until I take my last breath that I am learning something new every day. And so when you are proactively asking questions, volunteering to help, exposing yourself to something new and different, which may not feel comfortable at first, but that's where you grow, in the discomfort, in the area where something that you don't know about. So ask those questions, volunteer to help, be proactive. Again, the message to your employer is, oh my gosh, what a go-getter. They really want to take this to the next level. They want to be a leader. They want to be a part of this, and they will see your leadership skills and ability, and that will leave you in the position when, movement happens within a company and they're looking to replace or hire new positions. That puts you in the best light to be considered for a raise, for a promotion. And I would say you want to remove, it's not my job. Remove that from your vocabulary, remove it from your mindset. Like, don't even allow those words, that thought process, to even be in your brain. Everything is your job as an employee. Everything is your responsibility because it's all for the betterment of the company and the goals and the objectives. It's not about your task, right? Don't say it's not my job. That's not my task. I'm supposed to be doing this. No, as a true good employee, that where you're responsible to be yourself, to be all you can be for that company. When you decide to come and represent that company as an employee, it's your job to jump in and take full responsibility and do whatever is needed. What if instead of the employee only being evaluated once or, a year, maybe twice, what if you gave your employees regular feedback, have regular conversations often with your people? Or what if you have a method for your employees to submit their feedback and their ideas, and if necessary, do it anonymously? I think you should have an opportunity as an employee to be able to express what you feel and put your name on it and own it. And then you can have a direct conversation with your manager, with the person that you report to. At the same time, some people might feel threatened by that, and they might feel that maybe there's some reciprocity that will come back, maybe that it'll work against them, and that someone will take it out on them if they say something that maybe even they have feedback that's not so great about the manager. Well, the owners or the next level need to also be looking at these uh, feedback submissions, because the problem could be in your manager. And how else would you know about that? You need to know about that. No one says the problems all lie in the employers and that from management up is perfect. Far from it. We teach people what we want from them and how to behave by how we behave. So every level, literally every level, including the owner, needs to have a check-in, a checkpoint. And with an owner, I would say that comes down to consulting and coaching and one-on-one, so that questions can be asked, and you can dive in with someone who really understands that it doesn't matter what you're doing, what you're saying, that this is not about you personally. It's about achieving the best results in your business. And so that one-on-one consulting is just as important as it is with the employees submitting their feedback about the management, about the processes and the system, so that you can be better. It's all in the name of being the best business, the best person to convey, people to convey, and company to convey your brand message, your culture in the way that you want. So sometimes being anonymous actually is a really good thing, because it allows you to really be able to hear open, honest feedback without people taking it personally, because unfortunately, human nature, that's a lot of times just what happens. So, another great option and possibility is, what if the company owned their responsibility to educate their staff and not just train them? Again, it comes down to letting them know who you are, your values, what you expect, all the what I call essential skills. It used to be called, and some people still refer to it as soft skills. They are not soft. They are essential. And without them, you have no business, because ultimately it's your people that creates your business. It's your people who put forward your offer to people and how they do so. And it's your people as the customers, if they're going to be there to buy it. So it's really not about training. It's about really establishing who you are and really recognizing your people. And you need to do that so that really the values and the culture is not left up to any doubt to anyone about what you are and what you would be. Because, basically there would be no question whatsoever in an employee's mind of how they should interact with the customers. And that should never be left up to the individual employee, because they've been given those tools and that information from the company. Now, I feel like the responsibility of the employee to represent their employers and their employer's brand is also very important, what's in their culture. And at this point now, it's really how the employee has been raised in that company's culture. And it's their responsibility to continue to convey that out to their people. Now, once this flow is happening, I feel the responsibility lies in both parties. We started out saying, where does responsibility lie? It lies in both parties. And as in any good, healthy relationship, that's the way it is. It can never be one-sided, because if it is one-sided, it is destined to fail without a doubt. So we started out, where does it lie, right? For great EX and great CX, where does that responsibility lie? Well, I think it's clear that as any relationship, personally or professionally, it really relies in both participants. So let's not forget that this conversation has to be a two-way conversation. And I'm just going to jump over here for a second. Thank you, Ira, for joining us today. Ira, I'm going to just put this on the screen for Ira's feedback. He said, you are defining the difference in being a merchant and general retail. So Ira, can you elaborate on that for me? Sounds fascinating. I'd love a little more information to exactly understand what you're referring to. So thanks for joining, and thanks for the comment. Please write in a comment and just further define that for me. I would love to kind of go there with you and see what that's about. So in the meantime, let's not forget that the responsibility of the customer is also a very important part of this. We've talked about the responsibility of an employer in the process. We've talked about the responsibility of the employee in delivering great customer experience and also employee experience, because the employee is involved in the employee experience. It's not just, again, like from the beginning of what we talked about, the traditional model, it's not just what's handed down to them. It's how they choose to interact and engage with fellow employees. It's how they choose to interact and engage with their management. So that affects the employee experience as well. They are involved and they have the power. And I think that's what's really most important to take away here today, is for employees to recognize they have a lot of power. And it really is up to them on how much power they want to hold on to and to live into by being proactive and being respectful in how they communicate to everyone. So that's the employee part involved in the EX. And that's the best way it's going to happen to get out to the CX, right? So the employee experience affects the employer experience affects the employee experience. And within that, the employer will make it very clear how they want them to engage with and interact with their customers. But now the employee experience is going to roll out to customer experience. They are the interface of your business. They are the face of your company. And so now we have to stop and think, and I don't think a lot of people talk about this. However, and that is the responsibility of the customer in all of this. And yet, well, right now, actually, it is a very hot topic. This conversation of, is the customer always right? Like Ray Kroc championed in the establishment of McDonald's in 1955. You know, now in 2020, it's up for debate. Is the customer always right? And I know this is a conversation I've had with a lot of business owners and managers and restaurateurs. Is the customer always right? We're not going to go there today. That could be a whole other episode, but it's a hot topic today. And it's really important, I think, that the customer also bears the responsibility in the relationship, because, as I said earlier, in any relationship, all parties are responsible for how that goes down and how that ends up being, whether it's a good relationship, a good experience, or a bad experience. And it is the responsibility of the customers to be respectful, to be grateful and appreciative, and not entitled. Yes, they're there buying the product, but if there weren't employees who have gone through the education and the training to be there to serve you, to give you the opportunity to buy that product, it wouldn't matter to you either. So you're not wholly and entitled and the only one that matters. You're just as important. And it's important for customers to recognize that we're all human. We all make mistakes, and everyone's doing their best. And to not take out their frustration on employees who are there to serve you. And again, you know, it's a two-way street. It goes both ways, from the customer and from the employee. And just as the employees must know the company culture that they choose to join and work for, the customer needs to respect and also know the rules, the guidelines, the culture of the company they are choosing to patronize. And if it's something that doesn't sit with them and they don't like the experience they're having, not because an employee is not doing their job correctly, but maybe they don't like the feeling they get when they go into a certain business or a restaurant. Maybe they don't like the way people speak. And assuming they've been trained to use the correct language. For example, I remember years ago, I can't remember the name of it, but I lived in New York City, and in New York, they had a restaurant. This blew my mind. They had a restaurant that their whole culture, their whole brand, their gimmick was being rude to the customers. I swear, I kid you not. Maybe some of you are familiar with this. Maybe it was in other cities as well. And so the experience was going there and really just the waiters, the servers were just nasty and rude. They would kind of throw your plate down on the table. If you asked for something, they were just snooty and snotty back. I mean, truly, that was the brand. And people went for that. And I just thought, oh my Lord, I didn't go because I knew that was the culture, that was the branding of that company. And so I chose not to patronize that because I didn't like it. I didn't want to be a part of it. And I didn't want the feeling from that. So as a customer, I chose to respect that's what they're doing. That's their business. That's their model. So I can either be a part of it or I don't patronize it. And that's my choice. But if I do choose to go there, and if I had gone, I wouldn't be able to say to them, oh my God, do you have to be so rude? Like, can't you just say please? Or, can't you accommodate me? I'm the customer paying, right? No, that would be wrong of me. It's my responsibility to respect the culture and the setup and the brand of whatever company I am going to patronize at that point in time. So I think that gives that message. And again, just as every party in every relationship must ask questions and then listen, it's really important, regardless of all those tiers of relationships that we discussed today, that I discussed today, and I hope that you'll engage in. I would love to hear your thoughts and hear your feedback. So I'm asking for your input. I walk my walk, and just as I teach people to do that within their businesses, I do it as well. So please do reach out to me. I'm going to give you my information right there up on the screen for any feedback, any connection, any questions that you may have. Just your thoughts, put it in the comment there. Feel free to reach out to me directly if you want to have an exploratory call to see how to improve upon these different details and ideas that I talk about to strengthen your employee experience, to establish fantastic customer experience. I would love to speak to you. I'd love to hear about your business and what's going on. What's your biggest bottleneck right now in your business? So, feel free to reach out to me anytime. We can have that exploratory call completely free. And I would love to hear about what you're doing and see if there's a way that I can help. And if not, no problem. There's no obligation. If there's some way for me to be able to contribute and make your business function better and create increased revenue and repeat customers, ratings and reviews, and increase your retention, it would be my pleasure. So please reach out to discuss that and how you create an environment of mutual responsibility to being a part of a true team with mutually shared goals and objectives in order to develop an extraordinary customer experience so that I'm sorry, did I say customer? I meant to share mutually shared goals and objectives in order to create an outstanding employee experience so that naturally an extraordinary customer experience will be the end result. So thank you for joining me today. And Ira, I'm sorry I missed you, but please, hopefully you'll see the rest of this and go in and further define what you're saying, because I would love to understand that. Thanks again, everyone, for joining me. And I'm really looking forward to speaking to you again next week. We may have a guest next week. I don't know 100% yet, but looking forward to seeing everyone. And I will see you next week. Thank you. Oops. Trying to find the right thing here, technically. Okay, here we go. Thanks and have a great week.